Recently, several Chinese media have disclosed that all major ports in China are full of empty containers. In particular, Yantian Port in Shenzhen, Guangdong Province, has the largest stack of empty containers since it opened 29 years ago, and the containers have been stacked up to 6 to 7 levels. China's General Administration of Customs, GAC, dispelled the rumors. So, what is really happening? Let's take a look at a recent visit by a member of the public to a port in Shenzhen. Here is the Yantian Port, empty containers everywhere. The export is really screwed this year. I'm going to tour the site today. This is the place where empty containers are stored, right? All the containers stored here are empty, right? Yeah, you can't afford to defy the US. Indeed, you can't do anything about the US. Yes, yes. If they don't place orders, there is nothing we can do. We have to rely on them to make money. Yes, yes. So this year's situation is far worse than last year's. It's gonna be like this in the future too. It won't do well in the future? Even in the future, it will be affected? In the future, the Chinese economy will have to rely on the domestic cycle. In Shenzhen, not only the Yantian Port is full of empty containers, but all other ports are in a similar state. These ports are parked full of empty trucks. Chinese media reported that vacant containers were stacked up to 6 or 7 stories high at various terminals in the Weigaoqiao area of Shanghai Port. Workers at the Shanghai terminals said that up to 8 floors were stacked, and a large number of empty containers were also seen in the Yangshan Deepwater Port area. Ningbo, a major port in China, has 4 or more levels of containers stacked, all empty. Now it's full of empty trucks, turning it into a parking lot. In the bonded port of Ningbo, there is no shipment from any of the factories. There are no vehicles in Yajin, not at all. No vehicles in Yuanda, no vehicles in Newport. Jiayang is now closed for the day. Not many vehicles in Longzhou. Neither in Sehong. No vehicles in Sehai, Xiyang either. This is a scene from the port of Tianjin, an important port in northern China. Tianjin Port Pacific Terminal as it is now. Not a single vehicle. Hee hee. The latest data from Container Exchange, a global container trading platform, shows that the CAX, or Container Availability Index, for 40-foot containers at the port of Shanghai reached 0.64 in the 6th week of 2023 and has been above 0.6 for 11 consecutive weeks. Its previous data showed that in week 2 of 2023, the CAX for 40-foot containers in Shanghai reached 0.66. According to the definition, a CAX above 0.5 indicates a surplus of container equipment at the port, while below 0.5 indicates a shortage of container equipment. The buildup of containers means that the percentage of containers actually shipped is significantly lower. The Nikkei News reported on March 16th that statistics released by the U.S. research firm showed that the volume of maritime container shipments from Asia to the U.S. in February 2023 decreased by 29% compared to the same month last year, and the rate of decrease was 17% compared to January 2023 when converted to 20-foot standard containers. China, accounting for nearly 60% of the overall volume of containers to the U.S., has decreased by 36% compared to the same month last year. It was the 6th consecutive month of a 2-digit drop. A well-known U.S. freight owner told overseas Chinese media that he has been in the business of shipping from Guangdong to the U.S. for more than 2 decades and never expected to encounter such a disastrous scenario. Currently, he is using the savings he made over the years to maintain operations. He said, at its best, he used to ship 15 containers a month, but now he ships 1 or 2 containers a month. The business hasn't picked up, but all other aspects of the business cost money, including renting containers, loading ships, customs clearance, temporary workers, terminal fees, and so on. It can be said that business people doing foreign trade freight in China have been hit even harder, and many enterprises have closed down. The volume of container shipping has decreased, and with it, the price of shipping has decreased as well. China Port Container Network data shows that in the 3 months since December 2022, the China Export Container Freight Index has continued to fall, with all routes declining, and the composite index fell by 19.3%, 11.2%, and 8.5% respectively compared to a year ago. The Freightos Baltic Index for early March showed that the cost of sending a container from China to Los Angeles fell to US $1,238 for the week, down from US $15,600 a year ago. The ripple effect of falling shipping prices is that it has reduced the profit margin of each link in the transportation chain. Thus, the stakeholders, including transportation operators, drivers of container trucks, etc., can't make any profit. This is the city of Jilin in northeast China. Our vehicles are being taken to the warehouse. You see, this is the train station. No one is there and there are no vehicles. Hebei Province is in the middle of China, linking the country in all directions. In ancient China, it was known as the connecting point of 9 provinces. Now the truck drivers here are facing difficult times. It's my second day in Hebei Province with nothing to do, and now there is no cargo source at all. I've been all over the internet, all over Hebei Province, and there is not even one person I can call to inquire. Now I'm paying for this big truck. I have to pay for gas, highways, and hotels, but I can't pay myself. Chengdu is the capital city of Sichuan Province in southwest China, one of the 45 major highway hubs in China and one of the largest railway hubs in the southwest. The drivers here lament that the freight market has completely collapsed. Now the freight market is completely collapsed. The whole China. The 3 eastern provinces aren't doing well. The worst is Sichuan, our province. So many vehicles. Normally, they would all be running, each one of them, but this time they are all quiet. There is no work to do. Even if there is work to do, it would be losing money. We are in the business of logistics, but everywhere we go, we are losing money. We can't make money. Our families are still waiting for me to bring home money and feed everyone. What are we going to do? The Chinese media, home of trucking, reported in early March that a captain of a container fleet at the Yantian Port in Shenzhen said that the empty container pile at Yantian Port was at a record high, and the salary of truck drivers was also cut. And driver attendance has dropped by more than 50% compared to the same period in 2022, and almost no one is hiring drivers. The report also said that the container trucking business in Shanghai port has plummeted to less than 80% of what it was before the epidemic, and the wages of Shanghai container truck drivers are generally declining. The owners of small fleets are basically working for the drivers, and their monthly profits are only enough to pay their drivers' salaries. Facing this situation, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, is, however, saying something different. At a press conference on March 20th, the Chinese General Administration of Customs Director responded to the backlog of containers.
您刚才提到了空箱的问题。
You just mentioned the issue of empty containers. We are also keeping an eye on it. There are reasons why. Previously, an excessive amount of new containers were added. Also, the cost of storing empty containers in China is relatively low. Therefore, there has been a large number of empty containers coming to China's ports after the pandemic has eased. There is a seasonal factor as well. To a certain extent, it also reflects that the international market is still optimistic about our export capacity in the next phase. The latest customs data shows that since late February, the volume of export containers is continuing to grow.
出口用箱量在持续增长。 比较来看，
Our competitive advantages remain relatively clear, and with the overall improvement of the economic situation of the country, the steady beginning seen by foreign trade in the first 2 months of this year is likely to continue. Hence, we bear full confidence for foreign trade to become more steady and of high quality.
是充满信心的。
It's a special talent of the CCP that no matter how depressing the reality is, it can be transformed into encouraging stories. An overseas Chinese self-media personality tipped off a story. A trucker at Shekou Container Terminal in Shenzhen was told to run around with empty containers to create the appearance that the foreign trade industry is still booming. The whistleblower wrote, "Don't ask me how I knew." However, even China's trimmed official figures have revealed certain truths. Data from China's General Administration of Customs on March 7th showed that in the first 2 months of this year, the total value of trade between China and the US was US 102 billion, down 10.6% year-on-year. Among them, exports to the US were US 71.7 billion, down 15.2%. Because the US is China's top export destination, weaker exports to the US would seriously dampen China's overall export growth rate. The public has also felt the reality of China's economic situation. Especially in the manufacturing industry, a massive workforce returns to the city they are familiar with and finds it impossible to get their original jobs back. Today, I was looking for a job, but I couldn't find one. Work is really hard to find. Look, so many people are looking for work in the streets. Work is too hard to find. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find a suitable job. So I'm in trouble. Foxconn, headquartered in Taiwan, is Apple's main supplier, and the Zhengzhou Superfactory is responsible for assembling most of the world's Apple phones. This year, the recruitment at Foxconn in Zhengzhou has seen a special phenomenon. Brothers, how miserable the labor market is this year. You can tell from a small detail. The Foxconn recruiter said, "Foxconn's hiring will be filled soon." Actually, we all know that Foxconn has never been able to fill all its vacancies. But a strange phenomenon occurred this year. That is, its recruitment is filled up immediately. It's not just Foxconn, but the electronic factories in Shanghai, Suzhou, and Wuxi cities. Many factories have basically stopped hiring. This is something that wasn't seen even at the time of the epidemic. Now, after the epidemic restrictions have been lifted, such a strange situation actually occurred. It's really surprising. There is also a middle-age crisis. When men are 35 years old, it's very difficult for them to work in factories. If one wants to work in the factory, either he has to have excellent skills or be ready to do hard labor. Otherwise, he can only go to drive DD, work for the shared ride, or as a takeout person. If Foxconn Zhengzhou is still hiring, then people expecting to work at Foxconn Shenzhen aren't so lucky.
几千人的宿舍，短短1个月时间。
A dormitory for thousands of people has become like this in just 1 month, and the place is empty. Take a look at this place. There used to have so many people. Now, many stores and shops have been closed. There aren't many clothes hanging on the balcony anymore. Many people have gone. On Chinese short video platforms, there are also claims that Foxconn in Shenzhen will lay off a large number of temporary workers at the end of March and is dismantling 8 production lines. People from India have come here to learn. However, on March 8th, the person in charge of Foxconn responded through Chinese media that this was fake news and that the Shenzhen campus is currently running normally. Many enterprises doing foreign trade have closed down, and some are relocating. This has led to a number of problems, including unpaid wages for employees. This is a garment factory in Suzhou. It's said to be relocated. Many employees who have worked for 10 years have suddenly lost their jobs. Some haven't settled their salaries. They gathered in the factory to demand an explanation. In the manufacturing industry, many workers are forced to accept lower and lower wages. As you can hear, 9 RMB, that is 1.3 USD an hour, 1.3 USD. If you can't accept it, talk to the owner yourself. This year's economic downturn has caused many people to lose their jobs. Tens of thousands of people in Shenzhen are unemployed and have no income. People have no place to sleep, so they have to sleep on the street, like at Longhua Station, where many people sleep on the street outside the station. And the wages are particularly low this year. In Shenzhen, it's 15 or 16 yuan an hour. That is 2.1 US dollars an hour. Dongguang is 12 to 13 yuan an hour. That is 1.7 US dollars an hour. That's the pay for such work, but there are still many people competing for it. Think about it. This year is really terrible. I hope the market will improve in the second half of the year. If you have a job right now, hold on to it tight. If you quit your job at will, you may not get another chance. On the internet in China, people are starting to help each other out, exploring what to do if they don't have enough savings to pay for accommodation or to support their continued stay in the city during their job search journey.
失业找不到工作可以睡哪儿？
Where can I sleep if I'm unemployed and can't find a job? Parks, internet cafe, and train stations. They aren't the best. The best place is the airport. Take the subway to the airport before 11 p.m. There are free places to spend the night in the airport lobby. It has hot water, Wi-Fi, and charging stations. So bring a few packs of instant noodles, ham, and some bread, and you can stay for several days. Go to McDonald's in the morning and see if there are any used coffee cups on the table and take it for a refill. You can also ask for a new cup. If you get dirty, you can find a quick hotel. Don't check in. Be sure to go at 8 or 9 a.m. Go to each floor and stroll around. At this time, many hotel rooms have been checked out, and the room doors are wide open. Go in for a hot shower. If you're lucky, there might be a disposable toothbrush in that room. You can brush your teeth. I don't recommend it though, but if you're really stuck, you can do that. In addition, the public bathhouse and KTV will be cleared at night. The food bath parlor is about a few dozen yuan a night where you can get some sleep. But you need to go there late at night. Don't go where the ATM machines are. You'll get kicked out soon. McDonald's and KFCs aren't comfortable to sleep in as there is a lot of traffic. Of course, these are all just for emergencies.